I remember some reading or hearing of someone who'd gone to visit their parents who'd recently subscribed to Fox News or recently started watching Fox News. And after about 6 months, they'd buried the family jewels and their guns in the back garden because they'd learned from Fox News that Barack Obama was going to come to their house personally and take them away, which was probably an embellishment or an exaggeration, but it remains a fascinating question. So how significant, how virulent, how bad has Tucker Carlson been for America?
No, but I've seen what had happened with my sister-in-law's family in California. They during the pandemic, she didn't see her family for 2 years because they had gone down the rabbit hole of Fox News. They used to be mainstream Republicans, and then they went.
So that would be Ronald Reagan, George Bush.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Ronald Reagan, George Bush, but this phenomena of Fox News coupled with Trump, coupled with, it just literally, she didn't see her family for 2 years because of the differences, the political differences. I mean, I remember Fox News was here till 2017.
Yes, that's right.
And then I watched them during the Iraq War. Their take on what was happening was totally different than the BBC.
Sure.
It's always been right-wing, but it was more like Rush Limbaugh right-wing.
Okay.
Now it's gone into a whole new thing.
You need to explain that, because, I mean, for my money, Rush Limbaugh was pretty appalling. Anyway,
he was pretty appalling,
what was the new gear that they found with people like Tucker Carlson, and I think with Sean Hannity as well?
Well, I think it's just basically, it was just the conquer and divide and conquer. They literally thought, and I think all of our news outlets are to a certain extent, it's populism. And they saw how it worked around the world, and they thought it, and then I think they took that tack, and people were ready for something new. And this is where, I mean, obviously I'm on the other side of the spectrum. I watch MSNBC and CNN.
Sure.
But even CNN has come much more to the right. And I can see Fox News is going to have to go a little bit more central because they're going to lose, their viewers will be going to Newsmax and places like that.
Which is, I mean, this is the Overton window that's moving, really, isn't it?
Yes.
It moves to the right and the rest of the world moves with it because you shift the parameters of what is and is not acceptable. And it's got the full thing. I mean, the Great Replacement theory, all of these deeply racist, cultural Marxism, a very anti-Semitic invention, all of these things became common parlance, I think, on his programs.
But also, I think the thing is he could get away with it that long. That would always amaze me, whereas CNN has just sacked Don Lemon, who's one of my favorite presenters, for some really awful comments he did make.
What did he do?
Terrible.
What did he say? Sorry, I've missed that. I thought it was ratings for Don Lemon. I'm glad you're here.
No, it's because it was in February he made a comment with his two female presenters. I watch it every morning, this morning. And he said that Nikki Haley was past her prime.
Oh, dear.
And,
well, that ties in with the last hour in a way, doesn't it?
Yeah, and that was very derogative. And then his two female presenters said, what do you actually mean about that?
Yeah.
He said, well, anybody women in their 20s and 30s, but once you get into your 40s, and that's why they sacked him.
What an idiot.
It was an idiot, but CNN sacked him, whereas Tucker Carlson got away with this stuff for
a million
years.
times worse. Well, then, oddly enough, then we're back to the first hour in the way that Diane Abbott is being held to a much, much higher standard than people on the right ever hold their own people to.
And that's where,
look at that. You've gone tri-topical with your first contribution. Here's the thing I don't get, and I'm obviously going to introduce a little bit of a boast here because it's been at least half an hour since the last one. But Fox News registers about 1.3 million weekly viewers, right? That's the total, 1.3 million weekly viewers in a country of 332 million.
Yeah,
I get those sort of numbers on this single radio show. So how does Fox exercise so much influence?
Yeah, because a lot of people watch it on, it's not just like they don't tune into it. A lot of people watch it on clips, YouTube, TikTok. But I have to say, I understand why you get such high ratings because you are absolutely my favorite host.
Well, you're very kind. Could you put a word in for me? These $20 million a year contracts that they get in America and the rest of it, I could probably find room for some of that. Thank you. And actually, before you go, how bad did your sister-in-law's family get?
Well, they didn't get vaccinated. They didn't get vaccinated. They didn't wear masks. They had a wedding for 200 people during the pandemic. which she couldn't go to. It was a family wedding, and she said, "There's no way I'm going," and I didn't blame her. And they're not even they're Democrats, but I would say they're soft Democrats. They're fiscally conservative and Democrat as far as human rights. So they're really in the middle. They're the type of voter that Biden. They voted for Biden, and
Okay.
but yeah, they're not. But the other side of the family, and that was sad for me to see.
And it is,
really
you lose
lovely.
sight. Yeah, I mean, it's a rabbit hole, and you can't follow them down it. And you can't reach them once they're near the bottom of it. Thank you, Lisa. Heather is in Manchester. Heather, what can you tell us?
Hiya, first-time caller. A little bit nervous, just so you're aware.
Well, don't be, because you've already charmed me. Because you're American originally, but you've got the Mancunian higher off pat now. So that was just lovely. That was just hiya.
Brilliant. Well, no, just following on from your previous caller, I had a similar experience where my kids and I moved over here, and we're not necessarily massively liberal, but we're not Trumpians either. But family back in the States are gung-ho Trump to this day, and they see Carlson resigning as furthering the conspiracy. So really they see that more as proof that the voter fraud is real, because, well, if he's left, then clearly he knows something, and Fox is in with the Democrats.
How? So eventually they'll start eating each other. The children of the revolution will start eating each other. I think I just made that up. I don't think that's a figure of speech.
You're absolutely right, actually, because my second oldest moved back to Texas when he was 18 because the Home Office are not my friends. They said, "You're an adult, you must leave the UK." And
delightful.
But because of that, he's lived with grandparents who are as conservative, stereotypical Trumpians as you can get.
Yes.
And they've actually convinced him, even though he's high risk, he didn't get vaccinated.
God.
They don't wear masks. His grandmother passed from catching COVID, and they still don't believe it.
And this comes from Fox, does it? This is because you're the second caller in it. Because I didn't pick on that. I went more for the January the 6th stuff and the lies about the election, but anti-mask, vaccine skepticism.
Yeah, well, it's kind of all inclusive.
No,
really.
I get that. I get that.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
But he doesn't speak to his siblings that live here.
Oh no! Heather, I'm sorry.
To me. Oh no, it just shows kind of the power that the apologies. So I know you're part of the media, but the wider media, shall we say?
There's media and there's media. Come on.
Yes, we'll say the American media, the American right-wing media.
Oh, Fox News in particular, with this new Newsmax coming up on the outside lane, even more extreme.
Is that not just kind of the U.S. version of GB News?
I don't know. I don't watch it enough to comment on that. It certainly doesn't have anything like the influence that Fox News has, and it's populated largely by clowns, I think, the last time I checked.
I remember growing up, you didn't watch CNN because it was full of conspiracies. Fox was the only way to get the true story because they fact-checked. And this was decades ago. This
and
was
they
a
swung
long time
it,
ago.
and they swung it around completely in the
really
opposite direction.
Just swung the other way. And they've got whole towns that, follow Fox News. And if you say a word against Fox News, then you're the devil.
And that is astonishing. So now the defenestration of Tucker Carlson, even after the publication of those emails that showed that he knew he was lying, knew his guest was lying. What was the name of that lawyer, Heather? Can you remember? Sydney someone.
Oh gosh, I can't.
One of Trump's lawyers. He used fairly, clear language on Sidney Powell. There you go. But now he becomes evidence of the con that he's helped to sell. I don't know. It's so hard to keep up. I don't know how they do it. And as ever, as we prove on this program on a regular basis, you pull the tiniest thread on these conspiracy theories and the whole thing falls apart. And they never thank you for it. They just get angrier with you than they were before.